Good evening. You're watching the main news on HKIBC. I'm Azam Khan. Here's a look at tonight's top stories. Beijing calls for a probe after a man rams his car into the Chinese consulate in San Francisco. There are fears of heavy casualties as Israel deploys a massive military force along the border with the Gaza Strip. And locally, John Lee calls for an improvement in traffic arrangements during bad weather. China has demanded greater protection for its consulate and diplomats in the U.S. city of San Francisco after a man rammed his car into the building. The driver was fatally shot by police officers. Janice Lowe reports.
Police officers urged the driver to get on the ground after his car crashed into the Chinese consulate in San Francisco. Gunshots were reported as people fled.
When officers arrived here on scene, they found the vehicle had come to rest inside the lobby of the Chinese consulate. Officers entered, made contact with the suspect, and an officer-involved shooting occurred.
The suspect was later pronounced dead in hospital. Police appealed to witnesses to help with the investigation. One person said he heard the driver shouting to ask where was the CCP, apparently referring to the Chinese Communist Party. A spokesman for the Chinese consulate condemned the incident, saying it threatened the lives of diplomats and people at the site. In Beijing, Foreign Ministry spokesman Wang Wenbin urged the U.S. government to launch an immediate investigation. The authorities should implement measures according to the Vienna Convention on Consular Relations to ensure the safety of Chinese diplomatic missions and staff, Wang added. The incident came just a month before San Francisco hosts leaders of the Asia-Pacific Economic Cooperation, or APEC. U.S. President Joe Biden said it is possible for him to meet President Xi Jinping at the summit, but there's no official schedule yet. The two presidents last met during the G20 summit in Bali in 2022. Janice Lowe, HKIBC.
Israel has warned Palestinians trapped in the Gaza Strip to leave as it deployed tens of thousands of troops along the border ahead of an expected ground invasion. With the death toll on both sides mounting, the Palestinian group Hamas has threatened to kill an Israeli hostage each time Israel bombs a Palestinian home without warning. On the fourth day since hostilities began, Israel escalated its assault on Gaza City with airstrikes of unprecedented intensity. As Israeli troops massed along the border with the Gaza Strip, Israel told Palestinians to flee to Egypt. But later it announced the crossing to Egypt was actually closed, leaving trapped Palestinians with nowhere to go. It comes after Hamas fighters killed more than 900 Israelis in assaults on several towns in southern Israel in unprecedented raids that began on Saturday. Several Israelis are being held hostage, and Hamas warned that their lives would be at risk if Palestinian homes are bombed without warning. Israel said 1,500 Hamas fighters were killed. Hamas said it acted because of constant Israeli military raids on Palestinian homes, provocations linked to the sacred Al-Aqsa Mosque compound, and the occupation of Palestinian land. Israeli Defense Minister Yoav Gallant mobilized nearly 300,000 reservists for a full-scale war on Gaza and referred to the Palestinians as human animals. The comment triggered outrage among Arabs, but there was a deafening silence among Western leaders who threw their support behind Israel. Civilian casualties, already high, are likely to soar. Israel has hit more than 1,000 targets in the Gaza Strip, killing more than 700 Palestinians, including 140 children. A mosque in Gaza City was leveled by the bombs, along with nearby residential apartments. Washington has stepped up military aid to its staunch ally and moved Navy warships into the region in a show of support for Israel. China, Russia, Turkey, and the United Nations have called for immediate restraint on both sides, as the fighting divided people around the globe, with pro-Palestine and pro-Israel demonstrations in many cities.
International relief agencies are worried about the fate of Palestinians in the besieged Gaza Strip after Israel cut off their food, water, and electricity.
I am deeply distressed by today's announcement that Israel will initiate a complete siege of the Gaza Strip, nothing allowed in, no electricity, food, or fuel. The humanitarian situation in Gaza was extremely dire before these hostilities. Now it will only deteriorate exponentially.
This is not the first escalation that people in Gaza are going through. It is almost the seventh. But from what I've heard, this has been the harshest of wars.
Destruction to Gaza has been extensive. Israel has pulverized the region since the Palestinians launched a surprise attack last weekend. Gaza has been often described as the world's biggest open-air prison, with 2 million Palestinians trapped in a tiny area.
Currently in Gaza, the hospitals are at maximum alert. There is no elective surgeries being done. Everybody is prepared for and are treating then a huge number of casualties that have been coming in since Saturday. What's really needed is medical supplies, disposables, particularly those related to treating trauma cases, as well as medications and blood and things like the basic necessities that the Ministry of Health is asking for.
The government is trying to contact 7 Hong Kongers who are known to be in Israel. Chief Executive John Lee said his administration is in close contact with the Chinese embassy in Israel and the Israeli consulate in Hong Kong. 28 SAR residents in Israel had approached the government for help. 5 have already returned home, and 16 others have left the country. The Transport and Logistics Bureau has been ordered to draw up a plan to prevent a repeat of the traffic chaos on Sunday evening when the typhoon signal was upgraded to number 9. The chief executive said it wasn't good to see so many people stranded at the airport and outside MTR stations. Macy Mock reports.
Thousands of people were caught by surprise when the number 9 signal was issued with only 15 minutes notice at 7 p.m. on Sunday as Typhoon Kowloon approached the city. Long queues formed at the airport as people anxiously waited for taxis after the airport express and buses stopped operating. In other parts of Hong Kong, MTR services on open-air sections were suspended, forcing commuters to turn to the few taxis that were still on the roads. Taxi drivers are reluctant to work during a number 9 because they will not be covered by insurance in case of damage. The chief executive addressed the issue this morning. I agree it is not ideal that many tourists and Hong Kong residents were stranded, John Lee said. He ordered the Transport and Logistics Bureau, the Airport Authority, and the MTR Corporation to take action.
What I hope to achieve is a contingency plan which will deal with extreme situation involving need for emergency transportation. I shall ask TLB to look at this very quickly so that we will have a contingency plan to deal with that.
When asked why the public was given only 15 minutes before the signal was upgraded, Lee blamed technical limitations, even though the observatory's monitoring system is of international standard. Lee said the weather forecasters will learn from last week's experience, but reminded residents to stay alert during inclement weather. Macy Mock, HKIBC.
An insurance agent has been sentenced to 7 years in jail for raping his foreign domestic helper. Last month, a jury convicted 45-year-old Chow Ka-wai by a majority of 5-1. High Court Recorder Martin Hui said the victim suffered from post-traumatic stress disorder following the rape, which occurred 2 years ago when Chow had drunk alcohol. Hui added that the defendant, who has 3 children, showed no remorse by denying the charge. The West Kowloon Cultural District Authority says its operating deficit in the last financial year was lower than expected at $718 million. Its income increased by 4 times to $553 million as the M+ and Hong Kong Palace Museum opened fully after the pandemic. Commercial rental income also rose 4-fold, with almost all spaces leased out. Despite rising revenue, the authority is likely to run out of funds by March 2025.
Like all the other cultural institutions globally, it is very difficult for us to gain balance financially. So as a self-sustained cultural institutions, we hope that our commercial income will be able to support our cultural and arts operation. Although different facilities are already in operation, most of the facilities which can generate income still takes time before getting into operation. Therefore, we are still in phase of tremendous challenge financially.
A firefighter has been sentenced to 10 months behind bars for fraud. Deputy District Judge Kenneth Chan had earlier found Hui Chi-feng guilty over a mortgage application for a flat at the Latitude in Sanpo Kong 3 years ago. The loan enabled him to buy a flat costing $9 million, even though the bank and insurance company had not incurred any losses. Chan said it was inappropriate to impose a suspended sentence as the Defendants Act had disrupted the public interest. But he slashed Chan's sentence by 2 months, noting that he took part in voluntary work during the pandemic. Hong Kong stocks edged higher today over the possibility that the U.S. Federal Reserve will not raise interest rates at its next meeting. The Hang Seng Index gained 0.8% after mainland funds devoured undervalued stocks. Online games developer NetEase shot up 3.2% on investment bank Morgan Stanley's prediction of strong third-quarter growth. Bargain hunters snapped up undervalued food delivery platform Meituan, which gained 3.1%. But there was no respite for developer Country Garden, which slumped 10.7%. After warning that it might not be able to repay its offshore debts. Now let's take a look at the markets. The Hang Seng Index closed up 147 points. Top 10 active stocks, Tracker Fund finished up 15 cents, Tencent up $1.20. AIA Insurance was up 5 cents, JD.com up $1.60. Forex trading against the Hong Kong dollar, the euro is at 8.27. Canadian dollar at 5.74. And over in the UK, the London FTSE is currently up 116 points. On to the weather now. It'll be mainly overcast with a few showers tomorrow. Temperatures will range between 24 and 29 degrees. Fine and sunny for the next couple of days. That's our main news for Tuesday night. Join us for more news at 11. I'm Azam Khan. Good night.